Hello friends. Today we are here to discuss about the second chapter, microorganisms. In last video we already discussed about some useful microorganisms in which we discussed about making of curd. Now we will start with our next part. Before starting, first of all we will discuss about what is fermentation. Fermentation is the process in which sugar is converted into alcohol using yeast, in which lots of carbon dioxide is produced. So, here is one activity. I will read it for you. Effect of yeast on dough. Take about half kg flour. Put warm water in a cup so that the cup is one third full. Add 2-3 spoons of sugar to the warm water and mix well. Now add half teaspoon of yeast powder to the warm water. Cover the cup and leave for half an hour. Then add the sugar and yeast solution to the flour. Add more warm water to the flour and knead it to form a dough. Cover the dough and keep in warm place for 2 to 3 hours. Does the dough rise? So, what you have to do in this, you have to do is you need to make a solution of sugar and yeast in warm water and leave it for half an hour, and then add this to the flour. After 2-3 hours, what you see that the dough has risen and its volume is increased. Now the question is, why dough rised, or why the volume is increased? The carbon dioxide that is uh, given off is the cause of the dough to rise. So some of you may remember about Coca-Cola bottle. Whenever you open that, number of bubbles just come out of the bottle. Why is it so? Because carbon dioxide most probably rise. The yeast uses sugar for food. In the process of breaking down of sugar, alcohol is formed and carbon dioxide is given off. This process is known as fermentation. The bubbles of carbon dioxide given off cause the dough to rise. This dough can be used to make bread. When this dough is baked, more bubbles of gas are formed due to the heat. As the gas escapes, the bread rises and becomes soft and fluffy. The heat during the baking process also evaporates the alcohol. So, with the help of carbon dioxide, what happened to the dough? Carbon dioxide, as carbon dioxide rise up, it also take the dough along with it, and it when the we heat it in the oven, then also carbon dioxide start rising, and we are able to make a very fluffy and spongy bread due to the presence of carbon dioxide. Next is making idli, dosa and dokla. The same fermentation processes used in this. So idli, dosa are prepared from a mixture of dal and rice which has been grounded to a fine paste. The mixture is allowed to stand for few hours. As fermentation occurs naturally due to bacteria present in the mixture rises and becomes sour. Dokla, a popular food item in Gujarat, requires yeast to be added to its mixture to make it soft and fluffy. In this case, fermentation may not take place naturally. So, all the materials that is required in this is dal and rice. So, when it is grounded to a fine paste, as the bacteria that is already present in the mixture is able to ferment on its own. So in dokla you need to add yeast in it. So it is very the almost the same process as we had done with the bread. Manufacture of alcohol and alcoholic drinks. As we already know that in the process of fermentation alcohol and carbon dioxide is produced, so it is very natural that alcohol is produced. So we can also manufacture alcohol and alcoholic drinks with the process of fermentation. So you have seen that during the fermentation of sugar by yeast, alcohol is produced as a result. So it is a very natural and common process. Fermentation of sugar by yeast. Take some warm water in a cup so that it is 1 by 3 full. Add 2 3 spoons of sugar to it and mix well. Now add half a teaspoon of yeast to it. Cover the cup and keep in a warm place for 4 to 5 hours. Now smell the solution. Can you smell alcohol in it? So yes, this is a very general process which all you have already done in the form of dough to make the dough. The process of fermentation of sugar by the yeast is used in the manufacture of alcohol and alcoholic drinks such as beer and wine. So there is a difference between beer and the wine. Either they are processed with the same in the same manner with the fermented process. So where is the difference? Let us see. Beer production is the source of the sugars. Wine is prepared by the fermentation of sugar and grapes, and beer is by the fermentation of sugar and germinating barley. So, for the wine, we need grapes, and for the beer, we need barley. Other uses of microorganisms in the food industry. As microorganisms are very useful us, so let us see the other useful microorganisms. Some seaweed such as kelp are used as food in many countries such as China, Japan. Kelp is a rich source of potassium and iodine. A substance called algin obtained from algae is used to thicken food such as ice creams and jellies. So algin is a microorganism that is used. Algin is a substance from the algae that is used in the ice creams and jellies. Next is making medicine and vaccines. They are also very important in medicines and vaccine. So let us start with the bacteria and fungi are used to make medicines called antibiotics. These medicines kill or stop the growth of disease causing microorganisms, hence are used to cure diseases. So antibiotics are very important part of our life because they cure a number of diseases. Like penicillin comes from species of mold called penicillium. As we know that bread mold is on we already studied about the bread mold that is on the fungi is helpful in making penicillin, that is an antibiotic like streptomycin and anthromycin are some other common antibiotics made from bacteria or fungi. Antibiotics are also used to control some diseases of animals and plants. So they are not only useful for human beings but also for plants. So number of microorganisms are also used to make vaccine which protect humans and other animals from several diseases. Diseases such as cholera, typhoid, tuberculosis, hepatitis, chickenpox, measles, polio and smallpox can be prevented by the vaccination. So there are a lot of number of diseases are there that can be prevented by the microorganisms. So vaccines consist of dead and weakened microbes which when these are swallowed or injected into the body of a patient, the body produces antibodies to fight them. What they can do, they can if they are injected in our body, in any way they produce the antibodies to protect our body. The antibodies remain in the body and protect it from the future attack of the disease germs. The body is then said to have the development immunity against that disease. Vaccination is therefore called the immunization. So they help us to fight the disease with whatever power we have. Bacteria and yeast are used in making vitamin B complex tablet. The human hormone called insulin can also be obtained from bacteria. Insulin obtained from bacteria is used to help diabetic patients whose body produce little or no insulin. So bacteria is also cure the diabetic patient by producing or injecting insulin in their body. So in the next video we will start from the agriculture part. For this, thanks for watching the video.